1980s, a young fella from Kentucky became a junior senator. That fella's name was Mitch McConnell. Story goes that he arrived in Washington with just $500 in his pocket and a dream in his heart. A senator's pay is not all that great. Better than, say, a coal miner, but not up there with the bigwigs. But somehow Mitch McConnell has managed to garner a family fortune in the neighborhood of $50 to $100 million, depending upon who's doing the counting. Some would argue that his financial fortunes were greatly enhanced when, in 1992, he married Elaine Chao. And she's still named Elaine Chao, not Elaine McConnell. Odd, but not unheard of in our modern world. One must understand that this is a guy who greatly resembles a wrinkled toad and probably was unable to get a date for the prom in high school, but somehow managed to marry a very wealthy daughter of one of China's richest men. So, his initial poor boy from Kentucky status clearly changed at this point in his life. But what about that dream he had way back when? That dream was become the Speaker of the House and the leader of the Republican Party. Seems as though he achieved that goal, but I doubt the fine people of Kentucky are raving about all the great things that have happened as a result of that. Both he and his wife, to say nothing of other members of their family, have benefited greatly from his position as Speaker of the House and her position as Secretary of Transportation. Not so much for the people he is supposed to represent in Kentucky. And based on what seems to be happening in Georgia, it looks like Mitch McConnell will lose his seat as Speaker of the House. And I wonder how much longer after he has lost that seat and become just another member of the Senate will his wife hold the position as Secretary of Transportation, a position she has no qualifications for, by the way. So it looks like Mitch the Toad, Moscow Mitch, Uncle Mitchie, just to name a few of his nicknames, will be going the way of the dinosaur and become extinct. The following video compilation is a collection of some of the highlights of his esteemed career in the Senate. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, right?
I want to thank you for 30 years of public service, but you have to acknowledge that we got too damn many people on food stamps in Kentucky. And last I heard, we're the leader, and that is not where we want to be the leader. And the last I heard, these coal jobs are not coming back, and now these people don't have the insurance they need because they're poor. And they work those coal mines, and they're sick. The veterans are sick. The veterans are broken down. They're not getting what they need. If you can answer any of that, I'll sit down and shut up like Elizabeth Warren.
I hope you feel better now.
I do.
Anybody interested in anything I had to say up here up front? It won't surprise you, we talk frequently on the phone.
Bring back that love to me.
Now, if there's one thing I know about Mitch McConnell, he's tough on drugs, okay? In fact, as The Nation explains, in 1996, McConnell was the sole sponsor of the Enhanced Marijuana Penalties Act, a bill to increase the mandatory minimum sentencing for those caught with certain amounts of marijuana. Well, it's a good thing, man. I mean, this guy, if anybody's going to be tough on drugs, it's Mitch McConnell. You go get him, Mitch. Well, I don't want any traces of marijuana anywhere, okay? In recent weeks, in fact, as he was running for re-election, McConnell has touted his role in calling for more federal money to be used for drug enforcement. If there's anything we need right now in this country, it's more drug enforcement. Now, keep that in mind. Nation also reports about a curious case of a ship. Now, it was down in Colombia, but it's run by people that are connected to politics in America, as we're about to explain. They say it's a ship called a Pygmy. Before the Pygmy, a rusty cargo vessel could disembark from the port of Santa Marta en route to the Netherlands in late August. Colombian inspectors boarded the boat and made a discovery. Hidden in the ship's chain locker, amidst this load of coal bound for Europe, were approximately 40 kilograms, or about 90 pounds of cocaine. You know how much that's worth? It's worth approximately $6.7 million of cocaine. Now, that's a lot of money. That is a major trafficker we're talking about right there. And if there's one thing I know about Mitch McConnell, he is tough on drugs. Okay. Now, who is the owner of this proud Pygmy that might now be in significant trouble? Well, it's the Chow family. Interesting. Now, I'm sure that we're going to want to discuss with the Colombians whether they can do the same things we do here, like civil asset forfeiture, where we would simply seize this boat for having the drugs on it in the first place. Now, the Chows, wait a minute, they seem to have donated to Mitch McConnell starting in the late 1980s, and then all the way through to today. It turns out they mainly transport coal. There's other things they transport as well, but that's one of their biggest products. Mitch McConnell ran on making sure there's no regulation on coal in any way, shape, or form. And wait, wow, the ship, it turns out, is not an American ship. It's a Liberian ship, even though it's owned by people connected to the United States and to McConnell, okay, because Liberia has no regulations and almost no taxes. Interesting. I would think that you would be proud to be doing business in the United States here, because a lot of it is through the United States. It's a limited liability company in the Marshall Islands with a Liberian flag. Marshall Islands, also notorious for no regulation and very little taxes. Oh my God. Chow, I thought that sounded familiar. Elaine Chow is Mitch McConnell's wife. Interesting. Now, it turns out Mitch McConnell's father-in-law, Elaine Chow's father, obviously, is a guy who has donated Mitch McConnell throughout his entire career, given him a ton of money to politics, but not just the politics, to his personal fortune. So let's read up on that. The Republican Senate Minority Leader has the closest of ties to the owner of the Pygmy, the vessel containing the illicit materials. The foremost maritime corporation, a firm founded and owned by McConnell's in-laws, the Chow family. Now, how much have they given to McConnell? Forget the political donations, which is an enormous amount. He's talking about just giving it to him. Now, to be fair, he's in the family, right? Quote, the Republican Senate Minority Leader's personal wealth grew 7-fold over the last 10 years, thanks in large part to a gift given to him and his wife in 2008 from James Chow, that's his father-in-law, worth between $5 and $25 million. Now, that makes him one of the richest senators, and that's not an easy title to have. Now, did he earn any of it? No. His father-in-law just gave it to him. What happened to bootstraps? But it's okay, because I'm positive that Mitch McConnell, who's so tough on drugs, is going to turn around and be principled and say, we should seize that boat right away, turn it over to the American government. We're working with our Colombian partners here on a war on drugs. I mean, here's a guy who's benefited from the Chow family his whole life. Is he now going to say, no, 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 if you have any kind of marijuana on you, I want to put you away for a long, long time. But if my family, who gives me up to $25 million, does the same thing, but on a much larger scale, how many times has that ship and other ships they owned carried cocaine, millions of dollars of cocaine, 90 pounds of cocaine. Well, obviously, the same rules should apply to them. Right, Mitch? Right? Well, we did not get that response from Mitch McConnell. He says in this upcoming video in response to this important nation story. Now, Mitch, that doesn't seem like a very mature response. But basically, by the way, that is his response. Yes, so what, man? Different rules. You're a poor schmuck who's not connected to a family that gives you millions upon millions of dollars? Well, you're going to be sent to jail for a long time. Us, we're rich, we're powerful, we're senators. Different rules.
After Jiang became the leader of the CCP, Chao met with him at least 6 times, including in August 1989 in Zhongnanhai, the political center of China after the June 4th Tiananmen massacre. At that time, the CCP was facing international economic sanctions. In 1993, Elaine Chao married McConnell. Since Chao was born in Taiwan and Chao's father was a friend of Jiang Zemin, ambassadors from both sides of the Taiwan Strait, as well as from the U.S., were present at the wedding to congratulate the couple. After the wedding, a grand banquet was held at the Hilton Hotel in New York City, attended by more than 170 guests from China and abroad. The Chinese ambassador to the U.S. at the time, Li Daoyu, was also a guest of honor. According to video footage captured by Japanese media, on the day of the enthronement ceremony, while many guests were seated, only Chao and Wang stood at the back of the room, chatting with each other as if no one else was there. Wang talked with his back to the camera and turned to Chao from time to time. Chao smiled and nodded frequently, and this conversation carried on for several minutes. On September 16, 2019, the U.S. House Committee on Oversight and Reform announced that Congress had begun a formal investigation into incumbent Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao and her family, focusing on whether she used her position to benefit her family. The Wall Street Journal reported that the House Oversight and Reform Committee was launching an ethics investigation into whether Chao used her position as Transportation Secretary to benefit her family. The scope of the investigation includes Chao's use of her official position to enhance the influence and status of the foremost group in the Chinese Communist government and the low-interest loans of hundreds of millions of dollars that the Chinese government provided to the foremost group to purchase foreign ships. A report in the Wall Street Journal also attracted attention. The report cites the book titled Secret Empires: How the American Political Class Hides Corruption and Enriches Family and Friends by Peter Schweizer, an investigative journalist and conservative author. It revealed the businesses of Chao's family and how she easily received business deals worth hundreds of millions of dollars. In the book, Schweizer cited news reports and public corporate records as evidence. The book seeks to demonstrate that the CCP has sought to gain influence over U.S. politics by providing business investment opportunities to the families of U.S. officials, including hundreds of millions of dollars in business to the families of former Vice President Joe Biden and former Secretary of State John Kerry, as well as to the businesses of the families of Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and his wife, U.S. Secretary of Transportation Elaine Chao. In addition, a government official's financial disclosure document shows that in 2008, Chow and McConnell received gifts worth between $5 million and $25 million from Chow Shi-cheng, the founder of the Formosa Group and Chow's father, and thus doubled McConnell's personal wealth. Schweizer also said that Angela Chow, Chow's sister, was appointed to the board of directors of the Bank of China 10 days after the 2016 U.S. election. Angela Chow's personal profile shows that she is the chairman and chief executive officer of Foremost Group.
You have to acknowledge that we got too damn many people on food stamps in Kentucky. And last I heard, we're the leader, and that is not where we want to be the leader. And the last I heard, these coal jobs are not coming back, and now these people don't have the insurance they need because they're poor. And they work those coal mines, and they're sick. The veterans are sick. The veterans are broken down. They're not getting what they need. If you can answer any of that, I'll sit down and shut up like Elizabeth Warren. I'm sorry. I get excited.
I hope you feel better now.
Don't forget to like and hit that subscribe button.